Hi everybody, welcome back to the OVACAST.
OVACAST.
OVACAST. We're still working on the intro. We'll figure out one
Hey, good
eventually.
people from all around the world.
Eventually we'll figure it out. That's
No.
my Let's Play intro that I do.
Okay.
Today's episode. Yeah, sorry.
Today's episode is going to be about nostalgia and the future, and we're just going to let it go from there.
Yeah.
We'll start talking. We have like loose ideas of what our topics are going to be, and then it just kind of is like a train of thought almost.
Yeah.
But I also wanted to say at the end of the last episode, we said that this episode was going to be the journey of our channel.
Yeah.
Which we did record, but we will not be putting up at this time.
Yeah.
We have it. It's there. It's just, we're not going to put it up right now.
Yeah.
We've decided to put this up and work on a few other topics before we go into that again.
Yeah, we recorded it. We just decided not to upload it yet, if we ever do.
Yeah, if ever. And we may never upload it. And, you know, that's our prerogative.
Yeah.
But
yeah, we don't have any bullet points or anything that were tied to general concepts of, nostalgia, because it's a crazy time. We're in our 30s right now. We're thinking about the past and the future. And I was just thinking about, with Connor, I was explaining to him how when I was growing up, we didn't have internet for a while until like I was about 12 and the internet came out.
yeah.
And just all these crazy changes and advancements, and all these businesses that have gone under, like Radio Shack, Circuit City, Kmart was one of them. All these different ones, and all these different things that happened where Blockbuster, Hollywood Video, Netflix took over, and everything, and how there used to be payphones. And it's one of those things where the people that now, unless they look up the history, have no idea. It's like that old thing of asking someone how they answer the phone, and then
Yeah, I've seen that on TikTok where they like stand on either side of a door.
yeah,
They're like, how do you answer the phone? And one like pushes it like it's the top, like answering the phone on your cell phones now, and the other one does like the thumb and pinky. I keep forgetting people can't see it.
People can't see it, but
the thumb and pinky to hold it up to your ear, and it's like, yeah, or like, how do you roll down a car window?
Yeah,
because I remember when I was a kid having the ones that you had to roll down with your hand.
Yeah. And just even subtle things like that, we wouldn't even normally think of, because that's just your experience in your formative years up till now.
And I feel like we were born in the 80s. I'm going off of this like people don't know us from the vlogs, but we were born in the 80s. So I'm going to be 30. Well, by the time you guys hear this, I'm 39. And you're 36 right now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I'll be 37 in November.
This year, yeah, okay. And I'll be 39.
Yeah.
In April, which you guys, my birthday's passed when you guys were listening to this. But, so I feel like we were born at a point where we grew up at like the cusp of like everything. Like, I remember tapes, but I also remember CDs.
Yeah, they had these
I remember floppy disks. The big ones, not those little plastic ones with the silver thing that went back and forth. Like the actual bigger floppy disks. You know what I'm talking about? I'm shaking my hand like I have a Polaroid, but they were like literally like plastic.
Really big, yeah.
And they were huge. I remember those. I remember I think they were called 3.5 floppies or something like that.
Yeah, those square black ones.
The square floppy disks. I remember CDs. And now you don't even need a disc anymore to get a game. You know what I mean? It's so like, I remember MS-DOS, which I don't know if anybody listening to this remembers what that was. But I remember having to type in like C drive and then the name of the file you were looking for. Like, I remember typewriters. But you know what I mean? Like, that's the point where we were growing up. Is we remember all that, but we're also like, we've had cell phones since we were in me, since I was in high school, like freshman year of high school, I think I had, maybe even before that, I had cell phone, because, this is back in the time where you walked home by yourself, or you took the public bus by yourself, and you were, 13, 14 years old.
And maybe you had like a very basic game like Snake on your phone, but for the most part, it was just strictly just for calling, and then that's it.
And you know what I think is so funny about that? It's funny you bring that up. Is that I've seen a lot of people on TikTok now that are buying those phones again.
The simple
They're
just
like,
call.
I don't want to have, I don't want to have Facebook on my phone. I don't want to have Messenger on my phone. I don't want to have Instagram, nothing. I just want to be able to call people and text people, and that's it.
Yeah.
And people are going back to that, which I'm one of those people. Nick loves technology.
I do.
He's like, how can you ever be bored when you have the internet? Like, he loves technology, loves video games, loves the internet.
Yeah, I'm very much that way. I could spend months and months inside, and as long as I had food and water and
the
internet, and I'd obviously want you guys to be here too.
Right.
But I could spend months inside, years even, and be completely fine and be happy.
Yeah.
That's like my dream actually.
So like for
would
you,
be to be at home and
like you love your cell phone. I mean, you don't spend a heck of a lot of time on it, but it's there. You like having it when you're out because even when you are out in a social situation, you're like, what if I get bored? Then I have my phone. Like, that's just who you are.
Yeah.
Whereas I can kind of see the novelty of not having that, of being like, I just make phone calls and text people, and my phone is strictly for communication.
Yeah.
Like, I can see where that would be nice if you were in public.
Yeah.
But like what I do for work, I need my phone because then I can, track certain things, and that's what I use to. But I could see where how if I was to go on a vacation and I didn't want to take my cell phone with me, that would be appealing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
To just
I get it. Yeah, I would
emergency only type of phone.
Yeah, I would get why, like, especially if your phone is really tied to your work and you have that type of work where people are calling you and emailing you and you're getting calls and text messages and you just want to take a break from that. I definitely would understand why that would be.
Yeah.
And part of the future too is I was telling Connor this. I only imagine when he's our age how things are going to be by then. And how much technology is going to advance and everything, and just to see within our own lifetime how far things have advanced. It's crazy.
Because we're not at that point yet where he's like, I understand more about technology than you do, but I feel like you and I kind of keep up with it.
Yeah.
There's certain things I'm like, I don't want to do that because, for instance, one of the things that I'm kind of like, and I know a lot of people our age do use this, but it's like, the wallet things that are on your phone where like you put your debit card number in the phone and then like it's like you don't need your debit card, you just like tap your phone on
I've seen that.
I've seen it, and I know lots of people use Apple Pay and Google Pay and all that,
Yeah.
Samsung Wallet and stuff, but I don't know, there's just a part of me that's like, what if I lose my phone though?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. And people in the comments are gonna be like, well, they have to know your PIN number or whatever. It's one of those things where I'm sure it's very trustworthy. People use it. It's probably great.
Right.
But I'm not there yet. And I think that comes with age, where you're a little less trusting.
I think that's happens, yeah, where you get caught in the times that you were in, and it can be a limiting thing where you grew up a certain way, so you're used to it being that way, and it's hard to adapt and change sometimes. And I know it's scary to put all that kind of information and have that where you can just tap something and then it works. I've seen it before. Yeah, it's kind of freaky. People are saying that about blockchain too, how it could be potentially hacked or something like that.
Yeah, that's what I'm concerned about.
Yeah. I know very little about blockchain, but supposedly it's very encrypted and it's very tough to get or something.
Yeah.
I've read a couple things here and there, but I know almost nothing about it. But that's one of the things that people are saying is the future. Eventually, they'll get rid of cash and it'll all be just blockchain. But people were saying that about credit cards, though, too.
Yeah.
People were saying, oh, we're just only going to have credit cards. And it's something that could happen. That's one of the other things about the future is it's very tough to predict, and people are going to make predictions that are not going to happen. For instance, one of them we're dealing with right now, is the self-checkouts, and then they saying that it's going to be the end of cashiers, and for a long time people thought that's how it was going to go.
But the thing, everything goes around in a circle. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but everything goes around in a circle. Okay, they're going to do all these self-checkouts, and you're not going to have cashiers. And for a time, you're right, there was very few real cashiers, live people or whatever, humans. and a lot more self checkouts. And now we've gotten to the other side of the circle now, where people are like, people are stealing too much.
That's,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? It's like,
I
yeah,
was
I've been
about to
saying
say
that
that.
since the
Yeah.
beginning. Because I remember when I was looking for jobs, and you going, well, I don't know if you want to get a cashier job because they're going to end up, eliminating cashiers altogether. And I'm like, we just had maybe in the last year and a half a store open locally that opened with just self checkouts.
Yeah.
And they have now closed every single one, and they have one live person there to check out the whole store, one register, when they have like 8 self checkouts, but they will not let people use the self checkouts.
Right.
So it's like, you know what I mean? It's one of those things
Where it's tough to predict, and you could use past things that have happened in the past to try to predict the future, but it's not always going to turn out that way. For instance, I used to tell people is that they used to have service gas stations where they would fill up your car, wipe your windows, do all this stuff, and an attendant would be there to do all that.
right.
Then eventually you had self-serve, and I was using that analogy for the self-checkouts when people would say, well, it's getting rid of jobs, or it's why should I do the job of someone else type of thing, of a worker, I should be getting paid. And I bring up the self-serve gas stations that are most places now. But the thing with that is no one was stealing fuel.
Right.
There was no, and I didn't take that into account. There's going to be things about the future that you're not able to account for or predict. Because with a self-serve gas station, no one's stealing gas. No one that I'm aware of. That's easy to do.
Right.
There's no mass theft of gas with the self-serve gas stations or with the wiper fluid or whatever you clean the windows with.
Right.
But with self-checkout, there's all kinds of theft that they're coming across.
Yeah, people just putting stuff in bags or whatever, and
yeah. One of the crazy things that's happened with the future too is a lot of people were predicting that AI was not going to be able to do creative stuff, but now there's Journey and Sora and all this stuff. I've shown you a couple of those videos. Like, I'm more into it than you are, but I've shown you those videos that are AI generated. That's crazy, huh?
The problem with that though is deception.
Yeah.
I feel like deception by AI is going to go up too. You know, because you can not tell. You know what I mean? Because I can think of negative ways that could certain kinds of videos and entertainment that people consume that could be like, oh, look at this person's this kind of, you guys know what I'm talking about. I'm trying not to say it, but
yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Adult entertainment.
Yeah.
That could be like, oh, look, this is so and so. It's just like,
yeah.
And how are you you cannot prove that it's not you.
Right.
That's the part that's like, I don't know, I don't like it, but it's just the way it is, but.
Right, and I think that's one of the things of the past that we can look to the future with, is that when the internet came out, we thought there'd be this abundance of information, and it would be great because everyone would have all this information at their fingertips, and there's a good thing about that, and it is true, but the dark side of that is sifting through the information to find out what is misinformation and what is accurate is going to be more difficult as time goes on, with deep fakes and AI generated stuff. And it could happen with like minor civil issues, or it could be happening with like major government things going on with elections and all, or stuff worse than that. Even the potential of this is, I do like technology, but I think that's one of those things that the potential for bad things to happen is greater than the good things when it comes to AGI generated AI generated videos and deep fakes. I think there's more harm than good coming from that. The only good thing that can happen is basically you have really cheap movies now.
Yeah.
In the future. Where like pretty much everybody could become a studio. Like, you could make your own characters, your own movie at home and have it very customized. Kind of like modding with video games, where they can make their own kind of different game depending on their modding ability.
Right.
It'll be customized like that, where millions of people can make whatever kind of movies they want. And that's the only good thing I could think of that could happen. Whereas there's tons of negative things, but once you get the machine going, it's tough to get it to stop, because if you don't do it, someone else is going to do it.
Right.
And that's the arms race that's going on with AI right now. People are doing all kinds of AI because if you don't do it, someone else is going to do it.
Yeah.
It's
and
almost
you want to be the first because
whoever gets AGI unlocked is going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's scary because it could be like the nuclear arms race where we have mutually assured destruction in place to prevent us from using the nukes, but it could still happen. And AI could be even more destructive.
Right.
But I think that's one of the reasons why the future is so interesting because you have so much potential for a utopian place where everybody can be at home if they want to and still eat and everything and not have a job unless they want to have a job and in a post labor market in like 20-30 years from now. But at the same time, there's negative things like that could happen from that. So the potential for amazing things or terrible things to happen is, some people say it'll just be as it always been. There's good and bad, and that's all there is. But what do you think?
Well, I mean, I don't know. It's weird to think about because it's like, yeah, it's gonna get better because we have more technology, better, more people are gonna live longer and all that. You know what I mean? But at the same time, you gotta think about the fact that there's people that were alive 80, 90 years ago. They're still here.
Yeah.
And they're like, I've heard this. For instance, or not the apocalypse, the eclipse.
The eclipse. And
everybody's saying, "Oh my gosh, the world's gonna end." And if you're listening to this later, the world has not ended because we're uploading this. So clearly, no. But it is currently the 8th of April when we're recording this. You guys won't hear it until May, like the first week of May. But it's currently the 8th of April. And people are, oh, the world's going to end, the world's going to end, the world's going to end. Because, this is a totality in certain parts of the country. It's a totality, right?
A total
solar eclipse. And they're going through this whole big thing. And it's like, and people panic about that. And I think a lot of it is because of technology and how far we've come that everybody has all the information all the time.
Yeah.
And they're like, people are gonna, and I'm sure every other solar eclipse, people said the same thing.
Yeah.
But now it's just like more people know, so more people panic about it.
More people spread it.
But it's like
it compounds.
The people that are my mother's age, for instance, who's been around for the last 70 years, she's like, bro, we're gonna be here tomorrow. Like, it's not, you know how many of these things I've been through. The one thing though that was for her was crazy was the pandemic. That was a little bit where she was like, I have not been through something like this like ever in my life.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those things where it's like, there's people that went through the Great Depression and all this other stuff, and it's like, we're still here. We still have to have houses. We still have to have jobs. We still have to, you know what I mean? So for them, they're like, we're people sitting here like saying, well, in 20 years, it could be like total. They're probably thinking, well, okay, they said that in the 1940s too, and we're still here. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, so it's one of those things where it's like, you can sit here and worry about it and be like, oh, I don't know what's going to happen. But in the end.
That is something that has been a general trend for a very long time with the Luddite fallacy and certain events throughout history where people are like, oh no, the robots are going to take the jobs. The robots are going to take the jobs. And then more jobs get created as a result. But is the Luddite fallacy an actual law that will always happen regardless? Or is this just a cry wolf situation where the wolf hasn't shown up yet? Is the thing, and will there be a moment where the majority of jobs are done by robots and machines, and we're gonna have a post-labor economy where everyone just has intrinsic value as a human being and doesn't have to prove themselves through their labor and can just be who they are and have a decent standard of living, just being home and doing things that they love to do with their families. But I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just weird because it's like, part of me is like, yeah, it would be great for everybody at home. And then part of me is like, people are going to get bored. And when people get bored, we know that we're, at least in the state that we're in, and they get bored, they get nasty with each other.
Yeah.
And then it's like, you know what I mean? And then
Right.
it's like, how utopian is it really? When the people that don't want to be home, that don't have a choice of going out and getting a job, are now pissed because robots took their jobs.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And one of my flaws that I have is even when I try to understand things from other people's perspectives, it's still from my perspective what it would be in that situation.
Right.
Which for me, like if they said tomorrow, like, oh, all jobs are going to be taken over, we're going to pay you because you're a human being and we care about you and we value human beings have intrinsic value when we're in this era of abundance and you can just because the robots are doing everything and you can just be home with family and do the things you love to do, I would be so incredibly happy. Right. But not everyone is that way.
No, there are people that, even though you can't believe it, that want to go out and have a job. Because here's the thing, there are people that don't have families. Right. They're it. The only social interaction they're getting is going to work every day.
Right.
You know? And so I think that's part of it too.
That might be, yeah. That's going to be a difficult transition, especially if it happens rapidly. Like, people are worried about ChatGPT 5 right now, not just taking over blue-collar jobs, but white-collar jobs like lawyers and paralegals, that kind of thing that can go through so much text really fast. All kinds of things like that. And the other thing that scares people too, and I've said this before, people thought the creative jobs were going to be the last things. Those were the most human things, the only things that humans could do. And then there's Sora, and there's all these different AI photo generation things there, which scared people because they were not predicting that at all.
Right.
That was supposedly going to be the last thing that was going to be automated or has potential for automation.
Could you imagine getting an automated tattoo from a machine?
That would be crazy. Yeah.
That would be nuts. I mean, yeah. Could you imagine you just got to stick your arm in a machine? I would not do it, I don't think.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's a tattoo one day that reads your biomedical information, that, like, oh, it can read your whole, what's going on with your body, your blood, all this stuff.
Oh, I see what you're saying, yeah.
You can basically do an analysis on your whole body.
Send it to your phone.
Yeah, and send it to your phone. Kind of like an extension building off of like a Fitbit watch or something like that, where it'll read your pulse.
Or like those blood glucose monitors that go on, like in your skin, and it sends your blood sugar to your phone.
Yeah, like a combination of all that. And that's the other thing is telehealth, and people are theorizing that telehealth could be the future of things, and you just have all this technology where you could be, like, you just type in all the stuff to the robot, and the robot analyzes all the information.
See, here's the problem with that, I feel like. People are gonna lie. Well, I guess you could do it to a doctor too, couldn't you?
Yeah,
so it doesn't really matter.
Never
mind. Sorry, sometimes I have to think out loud. You could lie to a doctor and say, I'm hearing voices, and yeah, okay.
But that is one of the scariest parts is we just don't know how it's gonna unfold. Yeah. And how it's gonna happen. Like, you could try to predict, like I said, based on the self-serve gas station versus the checkouts, how it's gonna turn out, but then there's gonna be things that you don't anticipate, like people doing mass theft, to that type of thing. There's going to be things you just don't see coming, and that's the scary part of the future. Is it could be amazing. We could have all kinds of a much better standard of living for a lot of people, or it could be very scary and dystopian, but we just don't know.
The other thing is I feel like I was saying, the more media people are consuming every day, social media and things like that, they wonder why we have so much anxiety in this day and age, and like, why are all these people like depressed? And do you see the internet and the stuff that is constantly on the internet?
Yeah, it's like the internet, Welcome to the Internet song by Bo Burnham.
Yeah.
Where it just
literally I don't know. You know what I mean? It's like there's stuff that at least me, for instance, because I do have health anxiety and generalized anxiety and depression, there's things that I see on the internet that I did not. It's not like one of those things where it's like I clicked on this and so therefore it's my fault.
You get
that I'm
random
reading
feeds,
this.
yeah.
But like when you're going through TikTok or whatever, and somebody's like, "Oh, I mean, we've discussed this before.
Yeah.
I don't think we have on the podcast, but privately, I can't even watch something that somebody who has cancer currently.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I have this kind of cancer, and I'm going through chemo. I can't watch that stuff.
Yeah.
And it's nothing against their creators. It's for my own. It's a boundary I've set for myself.
Right. You have to
because
set your
I
own
can't
boundaries.
handle it. And so it's like, I'll click out or whatever. But then there's times like I'm just opening my internet browser and there'll be a big thing about like, I don't know. I can't even think of a story right now. But for instance, the solar eclipse, the world is ending on. I don't want to see that stuff because I'm just going to sit here and worry about it.
It's not going to help you prepare unless you, maybe if you do actually try to prepare, if it does.
And that's why I can't
But
watch.
there's not much good that's coming from it. And sometimes it doesn't even have to do with the algorithm of what you've watched previously. Sometimes it can be entirely random.
Right.
For example, I've seen this and I've told you this video, but there's this Komodo dragon and a goat is just standing still, just motionless. And the Komodo dragon is going closer and closer to the goat, and it's horrifying.
Yeah.
And the goat doesn't do anything until the last moment. And then I'm not going to describe more, but there's stuff like
somebody
that.
Somebody makes it out of the encounter and somebody doesn't. But yeah,
there's
but
stuff like that popped up on Twitter, which is I only use Twitter to share videos to hopefully get more views. That's the only thing I do on Twitter for the most part because that was one of the ones that showed up on Twitter.
I've seen dead people die on Twitter. I don't even go on there anymore. There's stuff on there where you literally see somebody get unalived.
Yeah.
They're breathing, they're not breathing. I mean,
yeah.
Not to get into, but like the full A to Z. And it's like, you know what? I did not pick this. This is not something that I really like this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They should literally have timelines. And I know they do on TikTok if you go to like the ones like followed or whatever section. Those are all people that you've chosen to watch.
Right.
But it's like, if you're on your For You page, good luck. Because there's stuff on there. And if you want to find anybody new, though, this is the thing. You can have the same... Sorry, my chair moved. You can have the same 6 people that you follow. But it's like sometimes you want to find somebody new. Like some different person to... You better be liking the right stuff on your For You page. Because if you get to the wrong side, it's hard to get back.
Yeah, I think we talked about this briefly on the mental health episode.
Yeah.
But... there's ones that would pop up like, oh, my kitten's about to die or something like that, and we need the money for the surgery.
Yeah.
Please keep watching. And you want to help that person, you want to watch, but then
I don't want to cry.
But then you get sent more of those types of videos. Yes. Then you get you like this.
You like kittens that are dying. Great. And that's all you get is these sad R.I.P. buddy TikToks. It's like, I don't want to watch. And that's where technology, it's like...
I feel bad for them, and I want to help them, but I can't help them all.
Yeah.
And it just wears on you. Part of me feels good that I'm helping by watching, but then there's only so many of them you can see. I'm like, there's a lot of sick pets out there.
Yeah. And all of their owners are on TikTok.
And it's just stuff like that where the algorithm... So there is a dark side to technology, and I do like technology in a lot of ways, but there are balances and things that we need to figure out about technology, and the rapid change is going to make it more and more difficult to adapt to and figure out what's the best healthy thing for individuals and for society in general. And it's going to, the next 34 years, we've been live for 39 years. The next 39 years, I have no idea.
Crazy.
And I hope it's going to be more good than bad, but there's definitely going to be bad along the way for sure.
We make jokes like this all the time, but it's like, our lives 9 years ago, 9 years, not even 10 years, 9 years ago, our lives were totally different than they are right now.
Right.
So it's like, what even could the next 9 years
be like?
Because literally 9 years ago is like, we were not living here. Did not even know each other.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's what's like mind-blowing to me.
How things can change so much over time. We make this joke with each other. Like 9 years ago, did you ever think that you'd have
Yeah.
someone that would be playing Super Nintendo with you and get you an SNES and you'd be playing your games that you played 15, 20 years ago
Right.
as a kid?
It's
Did you
like,
think
did you ever think that we would be here in this state? Did you ever think that you would be with somebody that had a child?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Did you ever think that you would be a step parent? Like, there's so many things that. Did I ever think that I would be with anybody other than my ex-husband?
9 years ago.
9 years ago, I was in it. You know what I mean?
You thought you were gonna be with him
I
the
thought I
rest
was
of
gonna
your
be
life.
with him at least until my son was an adult.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. You know? But it's like, it's so crazy how much has changed and how much will change in the next year, even.
Yeah, it's
Like
crazy.
a year ago today, did we think we would be here now? I mean, I probably think there are certain things you're like, well, yeah, we kind of realized we'd be in the same house or we'd still be together, but we never thought we'd be recording a podcast.
Right.
We weren't even on YouTube at that point, on this channel.
Yeah.
We weren't even vlogging at that point. You know, there's certain things that, it's just decisions you make that you're like, they're just like a decision and that's it,
Yeah. That's one of the
That's the crazy thing about the future.
You just don't know.
You can plan well-intentioned plans of like, we're going to maybe do this next year or that, or I'm turning 40 or, we need to do a trip or whatever, but you don't know where you're going to be on this exact day.
Yeah.
A year from now.
And that's both the great thing and the scary thing about the future is there's things that have happened that I never thought would happen. Being with you is one of the best things that have ever happened to me, and I never would have been able to predict that.
Right.
And then there were bad things that happened to me that I also never could have predicted, and that's the scary thing about the future is the potential for amazing things that can happen that improve your life, make your life way better than it ever is, like you, being with you and with this family.
Aww.
And then there's just the potential for catastrophe or awful things that just break you down, but you got to get through it. Either way, the future, we have to get through it, for better or for worse.
Because there's a lot of things that you like, let's say, for instance, 4 years ago, 4 years from ago in the past, I don't know why I'm acting like I don't know what I'm talking about, but 4 years ago, my dad was alive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
8 years ago, your dad was alive. And and at that point in time, 4 years ago, 8 years ago, we're thinking, well, we've got at least, I mean, my dad was not in the best health, but even you would say, we've got at least another 10 years.
Yeah.
You would say that to me.
Yeah.
We've got at least another 10 years. Because he would get sick, he'd get better, he'd get sick, he'd get better. We were going back and forth. Your dad, you didn't even know 8 years ago what was going on.
Yeah.
And because you had been no contact for a while, and you probably thought he's going to live until for
like
another 20 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? 20, 30 years. And it's like, and now going forward, and neither one of them are alive. It's crazy.
And that's one of the things is why sometimes I'm too much. Like I say, I love you too much, or I do stuff too much. I know it can be annoying, but you just never know about the future.
Yeah. You're not promised tomorrow. That's for sure.
Yeah, and there was, I can't remember which video it was, but we were talking about this kind of hack is, life hack is, when your children are annoying you or when a pet is annoying you, you just think 20 years in the future, you're going to be older and you're not going to get back to this moment again.
Right.
Imagine you're in a time machine and you can go back to that moment when they're young.
You're talking about this with the cat.
I was talking about this with the cat because he was bugging me while I was on the computer today. And I realized, like, 10, 20 years from now, he's not going to be here anymore. And how much of a gift it would be to go back in time and be able to see him again. I think of it in those terms. All we have is, we're talking about nostalgia of the past and the present, but, I mean, in the future, but all we have is the present at this moment.
And you don't want to have regrets. You know, don't you start crying on this podcast.
I'm not yet. No.
Not yet.
Not yet.
You don't want to have. I know he's sleeping. I wish you guys could see him. He is sleeping so cute right now with his little paws curled up together.
And so, although he was bugging me, I picked him up like 3 different times and I held him for a while each time.
Yeah. And it's like, for instance, with Connor, like, God love him. But he can, like, he wants to come in the room and hang out and stuff like that. And I'm the same way. At first, I'll be like, no, I'm doing something right now. Like, just, just not today or not right now or not. But then it's like, really? What is it going to hurt to have him lay on the bed for, because he's only in here for, what, 30, 40 minutes?
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, I'm going to go play now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I always think to myself, like, even when he was little, I would think this. I'd be like, just let him sit with you. Because there could come, I don't feel like with him, because he does really enjoy being around us, I feel like. But there could come a time when he's not going to want to hang out with us anymore. And he's going to be doing his own thing. And then we're going to be like, man, I wish he would hang out. Or I wish all those times I told him to go in his room. Or go watch TV. Or go play a video game or something. That I had just let him lay on the bed. And play his phone or whatever he's doing. You know, there are times like that. And I think about that a lot. Where I'm like, I wish that I would just let him do his thing. And just come in here and hang out. It's not hurting anything.
Yeah, because the future is not guaranteed. Like, he could grow up and he'll want to hang out with us and live with us, or he might decide to move to a whole other state. He might want to go to a college in a different state, or who knows what the future.
Yeah. Or meet somebody and they live in a different state, or who knows? Who knows?
9 years from now. But all we have is right now in this moment. We can try to make the best of things as we can. I think one of the reasons why we have nostalgia is because those are some of the best moments of our past, and we want to relive those moments because they were good moments that we hold dear to ourselves. Because a lot of times in life sucks and it's boring or stressful or there's a lot of negativity or things like that, and so we hold on to the pleasant moments of the past where we're going through stress or negative things in the present. And I think that's part of why we have nostalgia. And also, it's a continuity thing. Like, these are things that I have in the past, and these are the things I have in the present. And then the present and future is always eroding away into the past, but we never get to the future. But basically, we can try to make things as good in this moment as we can. I don't know if any of that was coherent at all, but we can.
I get that too. I'm talking, and all of a sudden I'm like, is this even making sense?
Yeah.
For me, but
I think that's why we have nostalgia, is for continuity's sake, and also because we want to remember the good moments of our past,
like the video games and stuff, and like, for instance, with me, like, I find myself being interested in things my dad was interested in.
It reminds you of him, like, excited.
And it reminds me of him and how excited he would get. Like, he loved fish tanks, and he loved going to the fish store and stuff. Now I'm getting upset. Now I'm going to be the one that's crying on the podcast. But he liked going to the fish store and stuff. So, it's like, when I'm like, oh, like, for instance, when I first started getting into the fish, it is kind of nostalgic, I guess. But when I first started getting into the fish, I was like, oh, I want bright stuff like glow in the dark or whatever. But now I'm like, you know what? I want the natural. I want to get more natural stuff. I want to get more. And it's because my dad loved a natural tank.
Oh,
he didn't really do like the bright colored stuff and like the fun stuff. He went like rock and natural. And that's why I got so excited to get the 5-gallon and put the real plants in there.
That's going to be cool. You've already started with the plants.
I got one plant in there right now. I'm cycling it.
Yeah.
And I need to put in a fish to cycle it. I might get a goldfish or something. But anyway, it doesn't matter. But what I'm saying is that's why I get into certain things, I feel like. It's because he was into them. And I'm like, okay, this is something that, like, reminds me of him. You know, like having the fish tanks. Plus, they're very relaxing, in my opinion. But, you know, it's like you do certain things and you're like, it's because it gives you that feeling of, like, my dad would love this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like with you, like, I like getting the video games and playing the video games with you because I'm like, Nick loves this, and this is some of the best times we've had together as a couple. Has been playing Minecraft and then playing Terraria together.
In Stardew Valley.
And some of the funniest stories, which is going to be another podcast, but some of the funniest stories we have some of the tattoos I have, it revolves around Terraria.
Yeah.
Like, I can think of 2 stories right off the top of my head right now that are hilarious that have to go around. Some of the best parts of our relationship have been through video games. And that's just the truth.
Yeah, it
And
is.
so it's like, I like Super Nintendo. Nick likes it. Let's get it because we can have more good times playing this. Like the fact that Nick is about 6 levels ahead of me, and I'm still trying to get through the freaking underwater level.
We're playing Super Mario All Stars, and we're playing the first Super Mario Brothers, and I've just had a lot more practice, I think, than she has. But the one bad thing about the older games that the newer games do better is you can play simultaneously in the new games.
Mm-hmm.
That goes for both Mario Brothers and the Donkey Kong Country games. Like, I love Donkey Kong Country 2. It's my favorite out of all of them. But you can't play at the same time. You take turns. And I wish they would remake it where it'd be like Tropical Freeze or
where you can play simultaneously.
Yeah. That would be amazing if you could do that.
We're having to take turns, and I keep dying, and then it makes you go back to the beginning, and I'm like...
And then I'll be on, like, World 4 or 5, and she's on World 2 or 3 or something.
But, it's fine. It's funny. But yeah, that's why you do certain things, though, I feel like, is because of the nostalgia of this person that I loved this. You know what I mean? Or this person, you're trying to just... I don't know. It's just going, like you said, going back to points in your life where you're like, I was happy. This made me happy. So let me do this thing again, and it will make me happy again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's kind of like a photo album in your head, almost. Like, where you can go through the happy memories and the best times of your life and try to relive them and recapture that magic of how great it was and maybe even improve it. Sometimes... Like, I played those games when I was a kid, but they're even more fun playing them with you now.
Yeah, because you're like, oh, it's fun to watch somebody else play.
Yeah.
Or how bad they are, how good they are, or whatever. I don't know how horrible they are at Mario Brothers, but I like it. Is the thing. It's like, I might be bad at it, but who cares as long as you're having fun.
You're having fun. That's the most important part. And sometimes you'll like blaze through a level and I'm like, wow, you did amazing. And then there's times where you're like, how did I miss that? How did I avoid that?
You were like falling into pits and stuff, and I'm like, remember that one? Mario Brothers is funny because those old ones you would like jump and then it's like you just fall into the hole anyway. It's like, okay, I jumped.
I think one of the cool things about video games in the future that I hope happens is if you have full VR in the old games, like, would be amazing.
Oh, that would be fun.
I've seen one of Ocarina of Time on Legend of Zelda where your first person perspective, which would be cool, except you get motion sickness with 3D games, so it's the only drawback.
I don't know though if it was all encompassing like that, if it would still, it would be like walking around in the world. I don't get motion sickness in that.
Yeah, we haven't played a lot of VR.
Yeah, I haven't played any.
And there's a cool thing that they have now where you walk on these tiles and you can walk in place. Before that, there was a 360 treadmill platform you could walk on. But as that advances, I hope they make the older games in that way, which would be awesome to relive. Yeah.
I feel like I might be okay in that.
Can you imagine Excite Bike on an actual motorcycle?
Oh my God, that's one of my favorite games. I can literally still hear the soundtrack of that motorcycle. We were talking about this the other day.
I remember there was one like that where you could upgrade the different parts of the motorcycle.
I don't know if that
was Excite Bike or not, but I do know the original Excite Bike game. But there was another game I played that you could upgrade like all the different wheels and the engine and all the stuff.
I played original Mario, original Excite Bike, Duck Hunt, and Paperboy. I sucked at Paperboy. But let me tell you, I put so many hours in that game. I sucked at it, but I played it. I don't think I was very good at Duck Hunt either, but I played it.
Oh, when the dog would laugh at you?
Yeah.
That was...
I remember vividly, we were living in a trailer in Long Beach, California. The trailer that I went home to when I was a newborn. Like, oh, I was young. I think I lived there till I was like 9, I think. And I vividly remember playing Duck Hunt in that front. The trailer had an addition. I don't know if anybody's gonna know what that means, but like where they build on to where the porch would be, they build another room. My dad had a TV with all the video game with like the NES plugged into it there, and he'd watch TV in the living room, and I'd be out there and playing that. And I vividly remember being on one knee like a hunter in that edition, like literally trying to shoot these ducks, and I was probably 7 or 8 years old.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like there's things that you vividly remember. I remember the door that had glass on it. You know what I'm trying to say? I choked on a bean and cheese burrito in that room one time. I thought I was dying. Like things you vividly remember
So well.
so well that you're like, you could almost recreate it. You know what I mean?
In your head, yeah. There's moments like that in your life that you go back to, you think of.
My dad loved video games. I remember we had an NES, we had a Super Nintendo, we had the 64, I think, came next.
Yeah.
And then I don't think we ever had a GameCube.
He loved racing games.
I remember having PS1, and we had Ridge Racer. I've told you about that game. He loved video games.
A game I think he would have liked, it was one of my favorite racers back on the N64, was Wipeout. I don't know if you ever heard of it.
Oh, yeah, you've told me about that one.
But it's that futuristic one where you're this floating spacecraft on these weird, crazy tracks. Part of me wants to show them to you, but part of me knows you might get motion sickness watching it. But you go blazingly fast, and you're floating, and you're going through twists and turns of crazy tracks.
I think you showed it to me before.
Crazy tracks, yeah.
Yeah.
I played that game so much on the N64.
Yeah, he loved racing games. That was his thing. Racing games and NASCAR. But nostalgia is a funny thing. Because it can be good and bad, you know?
Yeah.
There can be times where you're like, I don't know. Like, there's certain places that you're like, I don't like this, for instance. I don't know. Like, you can think, oh, I had good times here, but one bad thing can happen somewhere, and you're like, I am never. You know what I mean?
It can mess it up, yeah.
It can mess it up for you. Like, for instance, Disneyland. You have one bad thing that happens at Disneyland, in any context.
Yeah.
And you're like, I am never going on this ride or to this restaurant again.
Yeah. Sometimes that's funny how that can happen.
I had that happen with Wiener Schnitzel.
Oh.
I had a horrible experience at a Wiener Schnitzel in Orange, California that I thought I was going to die. This is when I was with my ex. I was not with Nick. And I literally still cannot eat a Polish sandwich. I will order them because I liked them. At one point, they were my favorite. But every time I order one, I start questioning whether or not I'm going to get sick. And you know what that's like.
I was about to say that. Is sometimes nostalgia, you can have negative experiences that you've gone through. And they're not exactly funny, but looking back at it.
In hindsight, you're like, okay, that was kind of.
In hindsight, like, I went through this tough time and I'm better at the other side of it, and it doesn't have long-lasting mental damage to me. But one of those was being sick with the Polish thing. You can look back at it as one of those memories.
It is kind of funny now because I literally got to a point where I was hallucinating that people were trying to kill me. Like, screaming at people in the house I was living at. I mean, it was the worst case of food poisoning I've ever had. And then in hindsight, it was like, okay, I got sick. I'm never eating there again. And I don't think I did ever eat at that specific Wiener Schnitzel again. No. I have eaten at Wiener Schnitzel, never another Polish sandwich.
Never in one of those.
And not at that one. But it's like, in hindsight, it's like, I was so sick, and and then I'm like, asking my ex, like, oh my god, I'm so sick. Well, the sausage you were eating had like a green tinge to it. You know that, right? Like,
why didn't you
couldn't tell me this when I was eating? Because I will literally, if Nick's eating something and I'm like,
it looks a bit off.
It looks weird, I would just throw it away.
Yeah.
Or he'll say, oh, this tastes a little funny. Then I'll be like, no, you need to just throw it away then. Like, I don't know if it's like a premonition or like, you know what I mean?
We've both been through food poisoning like that.
Yeah.
So she's very protective of me with many
Or it's like
things.
yesterday, like with Connor, like he goes, "Oh, I will take the trash out." Like we had a bag or something when we wanted to go take it, and the trashes were on the street because it was trash night. And he goes, "I'll go take it out." And I don't know why, it was a premonition or like a bad feeling or something. The box.
Yeah.
Remember, it was the box for the drinks. I said, "No, you're not taking it out right now." And Nick goes, "Yeah, you can take it out. I'll watch him from the street." I said, "No, nobody's taking it out." And I took the box from you.
Yeah.
Because it's something about, and I'm sure it's anxiety or something.
Yeah.
But I was like, in this moment right now, if I send you out there to throw this away and something happens, I will not forgive myself for letting you go. So you're staying. You know what I mean?
Sometimes it's like that where you have a bad feeling. But
I just had a bad feeling. I was like, a car's gonna, because this is right on the street. There's no curb.
Yeah.
Like we don't have sidewalks here.
Yeah.
And so it was like, and we're on a street. It's not a major street, but it's pretty busy. And I was like, you can't go out there. And Nick's like, "No, I'll just take it." I said, "No, nobody's going. We're all just staying in the house."
And I trusted it because sometimes you have intuition and it's right.
And I'm like, "No, it's not going to take a minute." And I folded it down and put it away, and that was it. But it was one of those things where I was like, nobody's going outside right now.
And it's one of those things where, like, one time someone gave me a candy bar, not a candy, it was a protein bar, and I had this intuition I should not eat this.
But you were hungry.
But I was hungry, and I wanted to believe that. To this day, I don't know if it was expired, and he didn't know it was expired. One theory that Michelle had was that it was a weed bar. It was one of those bars.
Cannabis bar, yeah.
Yeah,
like an edible.
Yeah, and for whatever reason, whether it was expired or whatever reason, I got so badly sick. I was like, after I ate it, I got sick. An hour later, I was sweating like crazy. And this was when we weren't living together at the moment. I was living in my apartment, and she had my dad, her dad, not my dad. She had her dad pick me up, and I was just.
He was bad, and I said, and my dad was like, "You want me to take him to his apartment?" Because we knew where you lived, because we had dropped you off, picked you up, all kinds of stuff. And my dad was like, "You want me to take him to his apartment?" I'm like, "No, just bring him here." Because at that point, I think you were spending the night and stuff anyway. Oh, my God, biggest mistake of my life. Should have just let him go to his apartment. But you know how it is when boys are sick.
You want to take
I know you could take care of yourself, but I was your girlfriend, and I wanted to take care of you. So I had him come to the house, and he started, like, just give me a trash. Oh, my God, the black trash bag of doom.
What happened is it was going out on both sides, so it
was coming out both ends, so you were on the toilet and vomiting at the same time, and you had to have the black trash bag for. Then he's like, just keep. Oh my God, it was so.
I kept the bag in there for a while because it would come and go.
Yeah.
And so I had that bag there for a while, and I somehow, in my delirium, I managed to go back to sleep, thinking I would be coming back for the bag.
And I had to move it, and it was I'll never touch a black trash bag in the bathroom ever again.
And the sloshing sound that it made,
so
to this day, she still
haunts me. It haunts me.
But that's one of those negative things about nostalgia that it was a bad experience for both of us. My poor Bebe. Having to lift that up, and she took good care of me, though. She really did. And that was not the only time I've been.
But in that same vein, I would never let you eat another ghost pepper and have Taco Bell again either.
That was another bad situation.
Because that was another bad.
To be fair,
that was the craziest thing, though, because he was doing a challenge. Was it a challenge for your Let's Play channel?
It was a challenge for the Let's Play channel.
And on the same day, I had my orientation for a class I was starting, and they said Nick could come, so I'm like, okay, great. So he does this challenge, he comes. The whole time we're sitting there, he's like silent. He's like battling this stuff, right? And then I go, "Oh, you want to go get something to eat?" He's at Taco Bell. He's like, "Yeah," because Nick is very agreeable.
Yeah, I love Taco Bell.
You do love Taco Bell. He gets like a burrito and a quesadilla. He took one bite of this burrito and he's like, "I gotta go to the bathroom." And he goes to the bathroom and now he's texting me. This is bad. So and then I remember you couldn't get the code to work. You're like he is like gonna be sick, and you couldn't get the code to work. Remember?
Yeah.
And then he comes and sits back down the table. I can't get the code to work, and he's like sweating. I'm like, you need to go ask somebody. It was awful.
I held on to that for like an hours at least. Yeah, just sweating, just staying straight, staring straight ahead, and just like focusing. I will not get sick. I will not get sick. The moment I had a bite to eat, it hit bottom. It just it was, and then I remember going out and throwing up on the lawn on the way to the car too. I felt bad for the Taco Bell workers that day. But another thing is Taco Bell has a lot of nostalgia for us because when I was growing up as a kid, we would eat there all the time.
Me too.
And then when you and I would start dating, we went on Taco Bell dates where we would go on our dates and everything. And then your dad also loved Taco Bell. That was one of his favorite. So Taco Bell has a lot of nostalgia for us.
Yeah, we like Taco Bell.
And we joked if we ever decided to get married, we were joking we might get a Taco Bell wedding.
Yeah. But there's just so many things in life that you're like, that's nostalgic, you know? Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah, these were.
I don't know if you ever went to Chuck E. Cheese.
I miss Discovery Zone. I wish they would have.
I never went to Discovery Zone.
It was basically obstacle courses that you could climb through, trampolines and stuff that you could jump on.
Oh, okay.
Like one of those like adventure park things where you could just jump on, like almost like you know how they have those trampoline parks where you can do that.
Yeah.
Imagine that with like different tunnels and things you could go through with these big roller slides that would roll you down. Like each thing was an individual roller.
Wow.
It was really fun. I wish they would make like an adult obstacle course type thing like that.
There's one.
That would be fun to go through. But it was like that. But when I was a kid, I liked that even better than Chuck E. Cheese. It was so fun. But Chuck E. Cheese I did like, of course, too. But I played mostly. I love skee ball. Skee ball was really fun. And
skee ball's fun.
I would play the Simpsons arcade one where you're the side-scrolling fighting game, and then the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles one too.
You know what's funny about stuff like that though? Like for instance, when I was young, my parents used to take me to State Line all the time. And it's a state line between California and Nevada. There used to be, there's not anymore, 3 hotels there. Prim, Buffalo Bills, and Whiskey Pete's used to be the 3 hotels that were there. And my parents used to take me there all the time because at that point, when I was under the age of 18 and you can't gamble, actually, how old do you have to be to gamble? 21, right?
Yeah, I think
okay, so when I was under the age of 21 and you can't gamble, you could leave your kids in those arcades by themselves. Like, my parents would give me 2 rolls of quarters and be like, okay, don't come back until your money's gone. And you felt relatively safe. I mean, I think towards this side of 18, I probably did have a cell phone by that point. But I mean, I remember being in there with having no cell phone. My mom would sit in a slot machine where if I came to like, there was a bridge in Buffalo Bills, I could see her. You know what I mean? And I could like wave her down or whatever. But you could leave your kids there and they could play. And it's funny to go back to those places now. Because you're like, this to me when I was a kid was like huge and great. And now I go back and I'm like, there is like 4 games here, and for me, I'm like, am I bigger or this was always this shitty? You know what I'm trying to say? It's like going back to an elementary school and the roofs feel like they're shorter.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm bigger. The school is not shorter. You know what I mean?
Right. Sometimes it will be like that where it will change as you get older. Things you didn't used to like, you like now, and then things you like back then are just
or like you
different perspectives.
Notice things that you're like, oh. Like, I didn't notice. That kind of kills it, because I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, certain rides in Fantasyland and Disneyland. Like, you're like, I did not realize that that's just a turning thing. You know what I mean? Like, when you're a kid, you think it's like, oh, wow,
It's just amazing, but now it's just paint and wood.
There is nothing better than going through Mr. Toad's Wild Ride when it's cold out.
That we would go on that so many times.
The only time you were ever happy to be in heck.
Yeah.
It would be so warm. Or like, for instance, like, with that ride, there's a steering wheel.
Yeah.
And when you're younger, you think you're steering it.
Yeah.
And then you're older and you're not doing that, you realize I have no control over this.
Yeah, you never had control.
You never had control over this. You know?
I think one of the other things in nostalgia, yeah, you never had control over the wheel, huh?
Yeah, in Mr. Toad's no.
No.
But like Autopia, you do.
I do know the one that you did have control is the rockets. You could go up or down.
Yes.
On the control.
I hated that freaking. I think I only went on that one time.
I was worried I was gonna fall.
Yeah,
especially
me too.
if you do the overbank. But another nostalgic thing is Halloween. Halloween is a big one for me because when I was a kid, it really did feel like this supernatural stuff was going on.
Yeah.
Anything could happen. You'd be going on a trip for hours. You'd be out there sometimes for 2 hours straight, and you get all this candy and everything, and you felt like there were ghosts and all this stuff around. And
it's cool. I like
to have that perspective again would be amazing. To go on that. I think that's one of the things why I love taking Connor out for trick or treating is you get to live vicariously and live through. And you're almost like a kid again.
He's gonna want to do that, but
no, then we could take him to not scary fun.
I don't think he's ever gonna want to do that.
That's the closest adult version thing I could think of.
That's great
of reliving the magic of Halloween and the scariness and sort of like anything could happen and the chaos and all that. I still love going to Spirit.
Spirit Halloween's your favorite. I take it like 2 or 3 times every year.
And Hobby Lobby. I love going to Hobby Lobby or Michael's.
Hobby Lobby during the fall time because they don't do Halloween there.
Yeah. And and then you had all this candy, and the candy wasn't just candy, it was this treasure that you had and this journey that you've had that whole night of going. Like I remember getting this piece of this Reese's Pieces, you know. I said that wrong, but you guys know what I mean.
Reese's Pieces.
Reese's Pieces.
Reese's Pieces.
I got this particular type of candy.
Yeah.
At this particular house when that guy scared me with the chainsaw that came out, and
But that's back when people could scare you. Now I feel like people are afraid they're gonna get sued or something.
Yeah. Or back when that person, there's always that gag of that person sitting on the chair, and is it a mannequin or a fake statue or a fake prop, or is it a person just sitting in the chair, and you think, nah, this can't be. And then they jump out of the chair and they scare you, and then you get like I got
you get this about once a week when I scare the crap out of you.
Yeah, I love it.
I know you do.
But then you have all those adventures, all those moments in that bowl, and it's not just candy anymore, it's the treasure and the journey that you have with you. And growing up as a kid, it was so sad. My last one was, I think I was 13. I went as Ozzy Osbourne. I went as Darth Maul one year, but I couldn't get the face paint right, so they thought it was a zombie with a lightsaber. I went as the Blue Power Ranger one time. I went as, this one is nostalgic for both of us, because my dad used to make costumes, and I wanted to be Toad from Super Mario Brothers, but he made it a realistic looking Toad. It wasn't like a cartoon.
Oh, a mushroom.
Yeah, it wasn't like a cartoon one with just the dots on it. He tried to make it look like an actual mushroom, and it was over this big, bulky, heavy motorcycle helmet, and so my head could barely hold it. Hold up the helmet. I could barely hold my head up to see anything. So I had my head down almost the whole time. And it looked like it was actually just a mushroom. And another thing that looks like a mushroom as well. I did not look like actually like Toad from Super Mario Brothers. I looked like a walking phallus.
My parents always bought my Halloween costumes.
And now whenever we play like Mario Kart, we play as Toad and Toadette.
Yeah.
Just for the memories. So I showed her the picture too. I don't know where it is now.
I don't know where it is now. It's probably under the bed somewhere, but oh my god, that was so funny.
But that's one of those ones. And Christmas time, I love pretty much from September all the way to like maybe February. That's my favorite time of the year.
Yeah.
I love fall and winter time. I wish most of the year was fall and winter. Spring's not too bad. I hate summer, always have. But I try to make the best of it. And I think that's living in the present moment, is even if you don't, something is not ideal, or if it's sad or whatever, you can still try to make the best of it that you can.
Yeah. Yeah, and we do. We stay in the house, we have the pool, which you and Connor seem to really enjoy during the summer. And,
Yeah. And I have fun with you guys and spending time with you guys.
Even though we have to go out there and set it up.
And you just try to look. The summers here get really hot. Like, I didn't like summertime in the previous place we were at, but it's the dry heat though, and I've gotten more acclimated to it where it's more tolerable, but it's still pretty freaking hot.
I feel like last summer was not nearly as bad though as the previous summers.
Yeah.
So hopefully this summer will be even better.
I think the thing that bothers me the most, that gets to me the most, is if it drags on.
Yeah.
Like, if I would rather have 1 month of summer that was like 150 degrees than like.
Sorry, I snorted. 100. That's like a low oven temperature, Nick.
I would rather have 1 month of like 150 degrees than like 5 or 6 months of it being like in the hundreds and the 110s.
Yeah.
I would rather just have one short month of just blazing heat.
Well, we're in April right now, and I feel like by last year it would have been hot already.
Yeah.
And we still are getting a few like under 70-degree days. I mean, we're doing pretty well.
Yeah, so far this year has been great.
Yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't start early and it will end early, and I'm hoping that's the case this time.
Yeah.
There's some times where it's in November and we're still in the 90s, and
Nick's like, please, God.
It's supposed to be cold at this time of year.
Can we at least get it to the freaking 70s at this point?
But that doesn't happen as often, thank God. But there were a couple times where it's been like that. I'm like, this is supposed to be the cold time of year. But you try to get through it, even if we're at an hour. So I look over partially to see if we're still recording, because that's the awful thing when you think you're recording but you haven't. But also we try to keep these within an hour, give or take.
No,
definitely no more than 2 hours, except for maybe specials.
2 hours, jeez! Could you imagine?
Maybe
I mean, there are certain things that we could sit and talk about for 2 hours, I'm sure, but
is there anything else you can think of to talk?
No, I think we're good for this episode.
There are going to be things that I'm going to think of later that I should have said.
We'll bring it up in the next one.
And I should have said that, and this would have been a great point.
What we should do to improve upon, because we're always trying to improve the podcast and stuff, is probably make notes as we think of things.
Yeah, like these are the things we really wanted.
Like bullet points, like, okay, these are things that you want to talk about, these are things that I would want to talk about that fit within this. Because we do know, like, our topic for the coming week, like the week that we're filming this,
so we can
recording, so we can like, so I can say, okay, so our next topic is going to be, hang on, I think I have one.
The funny moments that have
happened. Oh yeah, that's the next one. So like, as we think about stories, we'll like message each other on Facebook or something, like.
Yeah, or even write it on paper so we can have it right in front of us the day of, or some type of thing.
I think we should start doing that, because I feel like we're like, God, this is a great idea. We're thinking about it right then. And then by the time we go to record it, we're like, wait a minute. I can only think of one story. Anyway.
But to recap, the nostalgia is the best moments of our past that we want to relive and rekindle and go through that. And all we have for sure at the moment is the present. And it's not always an ideal situation. Sometimes there's negative aspects of life. Sometimes things are boring or stressful or whatever the case is, but you still try to make the best of what you have at the moment.
Yeah.
And the future, we can try to anticipate it. We can try to understand, prepare for it as best we can, but you can only do so much of that. And the rest of what's out of your control, you have to let go, and don't let it ruin the moment. Don't let it ruin the present. And we can hope to try to make the best future that we can, both individually for ourselves and society in general, but we can only do the best we can do. And
Yeah.
we try to make the best life in the moment that we can and appreciate things in the moment, because things are constantly going into the past and all we have is the present. We got to enjoy what we have now.
Yeah, and I think that would help a lot of people with their anxiety if you're just like, you need to enjoy what you... I mean, I'm not saying it's going to cure anybody. I just
Yeah.
want to put that out there, but you need to... If you enjoy your life right at the moment, you're only going to taint it by worrying about what's going to happen or, you know?
And it's kind of like if it's raining, you can be sad that it's raining, and it's okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel your feelings, but you can still try to make the best of it that you can. You can get out the umbrella, get a raincoat on, make some soup, drink some coffee, something warm to be comforting. You can still try to make the best of your situation that you're in the moment. And there's some really bad moments that happen. And there's some moments you think, I'm not going to get through this, but you get through. One of the things that I say is this too shall pass, because it's one of those things. Oh, things are great right now and you're having a good time and things are amazing. This too shall pass. Appreciate it while you have it.
Right.
And you're going through a really tough time. You don't know how you're going to get through this. It's really difficult. This too shall pass. You'll have good times up ahead. And you just get through it as best you can.
Yep.
That's the only thing I could think of.
Yeah, no, it's the truth. It's the truth. So everything one moment at a time, moment by moment.
Yeah, that's one of the things I say too. We get through the good and the bad. We get through it. We enjoy
it together.
We try to minimize the bad as best we can. We try to maximize and appreciate the good. That's all I can think of to say to close it.
That's a great closing there, Nick.
Thank you, Beba. I love you.
Love you too. See you guys in the next podcast.
Thank you for watching, everybody.
Or listening. Or whatever.
We'll see you in the future.